We continue our look back on Black history in southern Indiana by turning our attention to Seymour, where the city's connection to the Tuskegee Airmen continues to inspire. Mitch Legan reports.
To Seymour and back, easily, no refueling needed or anything like that.
Tim Molinari always wanted to be a pilot. Growing up in Seymour, he was often at the local airport, where he'd spend hours watching planes fly in.
Every so often, my dad would take me out here and we would check out the planes and just whatever's out on the tarmac or anything like that.
As he grew older, he learned the history of the small airport and was surprised to learn during World War II it was home to an air base and Tuskegee Airmen who set the example for Black Americans fighting segregation right here in Indiana.
I noticed a plaque outside the museum and I realized that that plaque wasn't enough to honor the Tuskegee Airmen. It was good that the plaque was there, but it just really didn't bring out how significant the Tuskegee Airmen were.
For his Eagle Scout project, Molinari constructed a plaza outside the airport honoring the airmen.
I knew it as Freeman Field, Army Airfield.
And is now collecting funds to place 2 statues nearby.
Take that bush out and put a statue right there, and then one on this bush, and they would both be life-size statues.
In March of 1945, a Black air unit, the 477th Bombardment Group, arrived at Freeman Field in Seymour to learn to fly large bombers.
In reality, everything was widely segregated, and so no base really wanted these guys.
There, inadequate training continued, and members of the 477th were told not to step foot in the Officers Club for supervisors, who were white, and instead use the club for trainees.
Now, this was a thinly veiled attempt to further segregation on base, but Army regulations actually prohibited segregation in military buildings, like the one behind me, and this was something the 477th was aware of.
Some of these guys were combat veterans. They had flown in Europe already. And they didn't want to hear any of this crap about segregation or inferior facilities, so they decided it would be a good idea to integrate the White Officers Club.
Over the course of days, Black soldiers attempted to enter the club and were denied, leading to the arrests of 61 airmen. Base leadership then demanded the soldiers sign an order saying they understood they were not allowed in the club. 101 refused and were arrested.
There's a deliberate calculation taking place here, trading blood for citizenship, right? Service for citizenship. How do you deny basic constitutional rights to people who fought to defend the Constitution?
News of what became known as the Freeman Field Mutiny quickly spread across the country, making the Army look hypocritical at home as it fought for freedom overseas.
Those commanders were replaced. Benjamin Davis was selected, and it became the first time an African American was in charge of a military base in the continental United States.
The mutiny was key in the desegregation of the military, which would occur 3 years later, but it was also one of the earliest and best examples of African Americans using nonviolent protest in their fight for racial justice.
Freeman Field Mutiny was an example of nonviolent protest that became a model for the civil rights movements in the 50s and 60s.
Now that many airmen are no longer with us, Duval is working to keep their legacy alive and highlight the heroes' deep ties to the Hoosier state.
This isn't a matter about what someone else did wrong. This was a matter of what the airmen did that was right, and having the courage to do what's right regardless of what they thought could happen. They did the right thing without expecting an immediate reward.
With his leadership, a stretch of I-65 near Seymour was designated the Tuskegee Airmen Highway in 2016. He's offered to help guide Molinari's efforts on the statue project too. Tim's collected half the funds, but still has about $40,000 to go.
The story is much greater than just flying airplanes. It's about wanting to serve one's country for the purpose of attaining the greater benefits of what our country and Constitution have provided.
For Indiana Newsdesk, I'm Mitch Legan.